Hi again. Hopefully you've had a chance to listen to Bruce's video and hear what he had to say about enrollment management. I want to add just a little bit to some of the things that he said, maybe give you a different perspective. I think that when you've lived through this change from pure admissions and everyone being in their own separate silos, you know, financial aid or orientation or whatever all the units of a college campus are, into this new era of enrollment management, it's been kind of an interesting transition to see how it's been designed and handled at other schools. It's also been interesting to be in that process because it has changed our jobs a lot. One of those big changes is trying to explain to people what you do. If you're in enrollment management now or in admissions or go out into the public, you know, often the conversation is, well, what do you do? And generally, I will say, well, I work at Florida State. And of course, the natural follow-up question is, well, what do you do? And I say, well, I'm the Assistant Vice President for Enrollment Management. And that usually draws a blank stare from people you tell that to, because enrollment management means nothing to the public at large. And so the follow-up again is, well, what is enrollment management? And I guess that's what we're here to talk about. What is enrollment management? What constitutes an enrollment management model? I know for me, when I answer the general public, I do a real simple one. And I just generally say, if it touches a student's life, I'm involved in it. I'm trying to make sure that a student has the best possible experience from the moment they're contacting the university as a prospect all the way through to when they finish and become an alumni. So I virtually say that I'm involved with the whole student life cycle, and generally people get that. To be honest, I always throw in admissions and financial aid just because they really do understand that, but it is an interesting concept to try to explain to people. I know once someone asked me, you know, why do you think enrollment management evolved? Why do you think it's here? And I have kind of an interesting take on that. That's my own take and probably not true, but if you work in admissions, you know, one of the most interesting things about admissions is that our position is incredibly accountable. If you're a professor or you work in a residence hall or you work in orientation, I don't know that you have the level of accountability that we have at admissions, because every year, every new year, new academic year, every term, people always ask, well, how many students are here? And what's their grade point average? And are they better than last year? Everyone has an opinion on that quality, by the way, but the accountability is there. We have to give numbers. We know how good a job we did because we have to meet our goals. Very few jobs in the university community have that kind of pressure, that kind of accountability that admissions has. And when I think about why did enrollment management evolve, I think it has a lot to do with that accountability, because I think people began to realize, particularly admissions directors, that we could do everything exactly right. In other words, I could reach out to the perfect prospect, I could handle that communication plan perfectly, I could get them to apply, I could get them to actually come to campus. But I couldn't control everything about that process. I couldn't control what their room assignment was going to be. I couldn't control who they met on campus. Maybe they met a grumpy professor who suggested this wasn't the right school for them. Maybe when they visited it rained and they just didn't like the environment. There's so many factors that go into enrollment that I think people started to notice that we need to pay attention to everything that might happen to a student. And I think that helps because of the accountability issue. It's not just the admissions office fault. Enrollment is really a university-wide responsibility. And I think enrollment management was designed to help everyone understand that we all have a role, not only in enrolling students, but in guaranteeing their eventual success and their graduation. So in a sense, admissions became everyone's job. And I think that's what enrollment management is basically sharing that responsibility with the whole campus that used to solely reside in the admissions office. It's a recognition that everybody has a role to play. Now, what are those right units to gather into enrollment management? I don't know too many people who have ever had the luxury of being able to pick their units. Generally, since this is an evolution that has occurred on many college campuses, you're kind of stuck with whatever it is that you have. So the real key, Bruce gave you 4 good ones, but let me give you another one. The real key is that rarely will you have all the units that you would like to have. And so the real key to enrollment management is to establish an atmosphere of cooperation and collaboration to share this responsibility that we have for student success among all the partners, and making sure that everyone's on the same page and working together. And so whatever units report to you as an enrollment manager, you need to make sure that you have regular meetings with all the units that touch a student's life. We have an enrollment management committee here that has membership by everyone, and I don't really have any responsibility over those other units. I can't directly tell them what to do and expect that they would listen to me. But because of the atmosphere of cooperation and collaboration and this kind of shared sense of responsibility that we've been able to develop, people do listen, and they do take advice, and they do understand that they have a role in the enrollment of students and in the students' success. And so I would like to point that out to you, that you will rarely have that ideal situation of controlling every unit. And so it's your responsibility as an enrollment manager to make sure there is a sense of collaboration and cooperation that exists between the units. It's not always easy. In fact, I will tell you the best way to get it initially is to make sure that you have the right people that are supporting you. And usually for an enrollment management model, that means the provost and the president. If everyone knows that the provost and the president are behind you, they're certainly going to take it a little more seriously when you suggest something or when you ask for something. And I think that's the real key as well, is making sure that everybody is on board. Not only all the different individual units that may be at your level or below your level, but those that are above your level as well. And I think if you do that, you will have a successful enrollment management model, regardless of the actual number of units that specifically report to you. One final thing on enrollment management models that I would like to suggest is that Bruce mentioned it as his #1 thing, and that was data. That is actually becoming more and more important. I think that there is actually more emphasis on data today than at any point in time in our history. We've heard the expressions big data, and trying to look at really complex amounts of data that really does require more expertise than most of us enjoy. So this need to have people that understand data, that can do data mining, that can provide data, is very critical to your operation. And so I would stress the need for very capable people that can collect this data and help you to understand it, to look for trends, to look for ways that you can base your decisions upon good information. And along with that, I should say, one of the cautions of data is paralysis by analysis. You've probably heard about that you're just waiting for more data, waiting for more data, waiting for more data. And to be honest with you, our business doesn't allow for that. We sometimes have to make decisions without complete data. And knowing when you have enough data to make good decisions and not enough data to make good decisions, that's one of the things that separates the good enrollment managers from the bad. If you've been able to survive as long as I have, one of the things that I think I have is that ability to know how much data I need to make a decision, and being able to make that decision based upon that information. And so you can't wait forever, but trust me, your decisions will be much better when they're informed by data. And so I think that's why Bruce listed it as one of his top 4 things that you need. And I would just like to reinforce that and say that I see it becoming even more important as we move forward into the future. You know, you always have to do the research and the analysis of problems and issues to become better. And so this process of asking questions, asking what it is that might be keeping people from being successful or from enrolling at your school, whatever it might be that you're focused on, is really going to require information. And getting that information in a usable format is a skill that you need to have on your staff. And so regardless of which units are the perfect ones to have, I would stress the great need for a data manager on your staff. Well, I hope this has been a little bit informative. Hope it's told you a little bit more about the enrollment units between what Bruce has shared and the assignments that you've had to read. I hope that you know a little bit more about enrollment management than you did when you start. I look forward to reading the assignments and to your responses and any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.